Hi, this is Stevie the Scotsman. I done a YouTube video a year ago on a crankshaft pulley for a Nissan Sentra. I got like 1,000 views. So, you know, I guess I helped some people. This time I have another beater car that was overheating. It's a Mazda 2001. It's a 626. I think it's actually like a Ford Probe Alias. This thing has a 2.5 litre V6 engine. So, the problem with the car is that it's actually overheating, and there was coolant coming out the side of the engine where the fuel pump, the water pump lives. So what I've decided to do is replace the water pump and replace the thermostat. When you're in there, you should ideally do the timing belt as well. I'm actually just going to describe the steps I had to take to actually get to the water pump and get to the thermostat. There's a service manual that I used, which I'll put a link in the description, and I'll put a link on my blog. The bottom line is, once again, a lot of misinformation out there. The service manual tells you to take off the timing belt to do this job. You don't need to do that. I decided that I want to replace the water pump, replace the thermostat, take it for a test, run it, make sure everything's groovy, and then do the timing belt. I just want to make sure that everything's hunky-dory. Now, before I even done this, there may be the chance that your head gasket's gone. And what I would suggest is that you use a combustion tester, and I'm just going to show you that now, which will determine if there's any combustion gases in the coolant. If you go to Amazon, you can buy a combustion leak tester for about 60 bucks. This is a two-stage one. It will basically determine whether you have gases in there. There's actually a link on Scotty Kilmer. If you go to scottykilmer.com and do combustion leak tester, he pretty much shows you how to use this. My advice would be, just do this. You then know what you're walking into. If you have a head gasket gone, as well as a pump, you got to beg the question, is it really worth it? Do you want to go and tear down the head, get it machined, get another block? That decision is yours. In this case, I done the test, it passed, so I decided to replace the water pump, and just because it makes sense, replace the thermostat as well. I did take the radiator out there and actually like flow test it to make sure it wasn't clogged. Not 100%, but hey, enough to give me a warm fuzzy. As I mentioned on the last video, I'm an aircraft technician, basically, and I know about systems. Am I a car mechanic? No. I will go there, figure it out, you know. If you're going to do this type of job, you're going to need some patience. There's 80 pounds of crap in a 4-pound bag, and you're just going to have to take the time and just be sensible. So, once you've done this test and you've confirmed that basically you don't have any combustion gases, let's take a look at the location of the water pump. So the water pump on this vehicle is located down here. Now you can see that at the moment I still have the timing belt on there, and I've actually put it back together because my plan is just to run this vehicle and test it. Now, the one thing I want to point out is you can, as I mentioned, the service manual says remove the timing belt. You don't need to. What you need to be cognizant of is, though, this power steering pump should be loose. Remove the bolts for this power steering bulb, so when you go to take this timing cover off, you have a little bit of play in there, and this will come off. So now, I want to walk you through the steps of getting this off. As I said, it's in the service manual. Service manual is pretty good. Ignore the part on removing the timing belt at this point. So, first of all, you're going to remove the expansion tank here. My advice to you that's been this car, they're prone to leaking. They're like 20 bucks. Rock Auto, I would suggest order one, fit it. I'm going to do that. So, you remove the expansion tank, mark up the connectors, remove the top radiator hose, after draining the system, and remove the bottom radiator air hose. As I said, I'm not going to take you through bolt by bolt, step by step. The biggest problem that you're going to have is getting that water pump out of there. And the things to bear in mind is just create some room for yourself by loosening this and basically use common sense. You would obviously remove this idler to get access to the top, remove the drive belts down here. Now if we go to the base of the car, I'm going to have my trusty assistant here point out that obviously the crankshaft pulley here needs to be replaced. Now in my previous video I used an electric impact wrench. In this case this was really stiff on there. So I want to show you now which tools I used to actually get this puppy off of there. While I'm showing you these tools, if this helps somebody, send me a buck or two to helpinthehumble.org. I just do this to help people, people help me. Go to the website, send me a buck. It goes to people who are not lazy and want to help themselves. I'm a bagpiper, I do things for this organisation, me and my wife run it. So if you're grateful for the information, hey, please send me a buck or two. Alright, so getting back to these tools. The biggest challenge here is on any of these major types of repair is getting that crankshaft bolt off. What I ended up doing, I went to Harbour Freight. Once again, this thing's got awesome reviews. It's an impact gun, it's an air gun. Basically an earthquake. This is a ½ inch. I paid 80 bucks. In reverse mode it's like 700 foot-pounds. This, in my case, got the crankshaft pulley off. Now, the other tool I used on my other repair video is this chain, which you wrap around the pulley in conjunction with the use of the impact wrench. These two work for me. I just want to show you over here. This is the tank I have. This tool will work in a 26-gallon tank. So let's just take a look at the parts that were removed in getting to this water pump. First of all, as I mentioned, the expansion tank, which I'm going to replace. Mark these leads up so that when you put it back, everything's groovy. Top radiator hose, goes without saying after you've drained the system. This dipstick tube needs to be removed. It will just physically pull. There'll be a little bit of resistance. Don't be shy. Just obviously undo the bolt from the bracket and pull it out of there. And when you go to replace it, obviously the seal will need to be replaced. Now, the side of this engine is held on by a motor mount. What you need to do is pretty much jack up the base of the car. I done it on the compressor and remove this motor mount and this bracket. Pretty much use sense. Use your trusty Ziploc bags. Mark up the bags. Mark up which bolt does what. You may forget. You're only human when you go to put this stuff back together. As I said, I can't say enough about Ziploc bags and masking tape. As I said, once you have these off, you can then see that you'll get the drive belts off, and you want to start looking at removing this timing belt cover. Now, it is a real pain in the butt to get this thing off. But once you have the motor mount loose and off, you can get access to this timing belt. What I'm probably going to do is actually, when I go to put this puppy back on, I may even just come up with and fab something, you know what I mean? I can weld at this point. I may just create a timing cover that creates the whole side of the engine. That's something I'm going to make a determination on. There's timing marks here that are obviously useful, but this thing is it's just such a pain in the butt getting off that if I don't have to go in here again, then hey, I don't want to do that. So really that takes care of getting to the water pump. When you get the water pump itself, you want to take out from the top, put in a new seal. I paid about 40 bucks. Bottom line, follow the service manual, but when it says remove the timing belt, you don't have to. Obviously, as you can appreciate, that's a discussion for another day. So, the second part of this puzzle is removing the thermostat. So, let me just, this is all disassembled. What I would and the new thermostat's in there. You can see that to get to the thermostat, you're going to have to take this intake off. You may undo some of these bolts, and these plastic brackets here will break. Fisher Price, I wouldn't swear it. What I ended up doing, if you take the connections and the hoses from the thermostat back and just mark them, you know, I just numbered them, then that will help you. Because really what, the two main things you need to do is get rid of these connections and get this ignition coil off of here. You see this ignition coil here is actually 3 main bolts. So once you get these connectors off of here, this gets lifted up, take off the snorkel and lift up the ignition coil. You then have access here to the thermostat. You know, anytime you get an overheating problem, I'm just a big advocate, just replace the thermostat. It's like 15 bucks. So total, timing belt 15 bucks, thermostat 15 bucks, water pump 40 bucks. Was that 70 bucks? I ended up buying that Impact. I'm in this for 150 bucks. Sure, it cost me a labour and my time. This car's worth about £1,000. The timing belt would probably be about 700-800 bucks. It's just not worth it. If you've got, if you like the challenge, you want to do it yourself, have a go. As I said, if you're not sure how these systems are supposed to work, I would advocate go to Eric the Car Guy. As I said, I'm not Eric the Car Guy. I'm an aircraft technician who's going to go in here and have a go. I do have a blog that I'm going to put a link to in the description, and I'll put a link to the service manual. As I said, if you find this useful, stick a couple of bucks in helpinghumble.org. I'm Stevie Curran. Take care. All the best.